All right, just a quick introduction before we start kicking ass. I started working on this course and spent a long time thinking about the reason you are watching this. Is it because of Upwork, really? Or is it because you realize that a regular job is not what you want, or at least not enough for you? I think most of you who paid to watch this are looking for something else. I think you want an alternative. You want to find a way to sell your skills, and that's what I want to focus on. And yes, I'll show you how you can leverage Upwork, but learning how to use the platform is not what matters. You can do that for free on the weekend by browsing YouTube. What's different about this conversation is that you'll learn things beyond Upwork or any other freelancing platform. Here is the harsh truth. Most freelancers suck at winning jobs, and I'll show you how to take advantage of that. By the way, I've used the same ideas when working directly with customers or in my job. I've talked to many people who mentioned that my approach, the one you're about to see, completely changed their perspective. That's what I want to teach you today. Let me show you some numbers. Okay, here is my Upwork profile. So far, I've made over $600,000 working on the platform. And all of that is side income. I've never done Upwork as my full-time job. I became a top-rated plus freelancer, and my job success rate is 100%. Since I started on the platform, I've sent 79 proposals and closed 19 of those. That's a 24% acceptance rate. And that includes every proposal dating back to 2007 when I started and didn't know what I was doing. The last time I was active on Upwork, I sent 8 proposals in 1 month and closed 6 of them. That's a 75% rate. And remember, I charge a lot of money for my time. I've talked to a few freelancers and my closing rate is way higher than everything they've seen. It means that when I apply for a job, there is more than a decent chance of getting it. And that's the critical piece of my strategy. From this point forward, everything we'll do here will focus on your ability to close jobs. Let's go after it. When I first started talking about this, some people looked at my Upwork profile and immediately told me that $600,000 was great, but what was the time frame? How long did it take me to make that amount of money? First, I'm not sure how that's relevant. Upwork is not a rich quick scheme or a shortcut to make a lot of money as fast as possible. If that's what you want, you ain't gonna find it here. You're better off looking elsewhere. But let me tell you a quick story to give you some perspective. I started in Upwork in 2007. It wasn't even called Upwork back then. Their name was Odesk. I was fresh out of college and lived in Cuba, where freelancing was illegal and penalized with jail time. Now, I don't want to turn this into a history class, but my only option for those unfamiliar with Cuba was to work for the government. I know this sounds stupid to many of you, but I mention it so you understand where I came from. My first job in Upwork was for $8 an hour, and I was over the moon. I'm not gonna bore you with the details, but as a fun story, I remember I couldn't even get paid because I had no legal way to bring the money into the country. I had to send the money to somebody in Mexico and pay them a 30% commission to bring it into Cuba. It was horrible, but that was all I could do until I moved to the US. Now, 2007 was a long time ago. I've used the platform on and off since then, so a better way to understand how much time I've put into making the $600,000 is by looking at the total number of hours I've tracked in the platform. That's over 10,500 total hours. Now, if you want to get a better sense of what that means, you can do the math, but remember that numbers are relative. I started making $8 an hour, but the last job I finished on Upwork was for $200 an hour. Averages here don't mean much. All that matters is that you can start and make progress over time. So, bottom line, Upwork will take time and a whole lot of effort. Unfortunately, 90% of people watching this won't change a thing. But the 10% that do will be glad they did. Okay, let's talk a bit about Upwork as a platform because I think it's crucial to understand how this game works. The game is fucking rigged against you. If you're starting on the platform right now, you're nobody and Upwork does not care about you. Your job is to build your reputation, and not much will happen until you do so. This shouldn't surprise anybody. Upwork makes money from companies who are looking for freelancers, and they want those companies to keep coming back for more. How do they do that? By making sure companies work with the best freelancers and have a good experience. If a company hires somebody bad at this, they won't return. Upwork wants to prevent that from happening. In practice, for example, they have private talent networks where they share exclusive jobs. You won't see those jobs posted publicly for everyone. Upwork shares them with the talent of the network to ensure the best companies work with the best freelancers. I'm in a talent cloud, which is what they call it, and listen to some of the benefits. Exclusive access to jobs posted. Filters and notifications to prioritize job posts in the network. The ability to submit proposals to jobs in the network without spending any connects. You'll have a huge advantage if you make it into this club. But there is more. You can become a top-rated freelancer and a top-rated plus freelancer. And those two badges come with significant benefits over everyone else. I suggest you go and do a bit of research to understand the criteria to earn these badges and read about all of the advantages. In short, when you make it, you'll have a leg above everyone else. And that's huge to get more and better jobs on the platform. Upwork does everything it can to pair the best freelancers with their clients. And when you start, today, for most of you watching this, you are at the bottom of their list. You're nobody, and the whole platform fights against you. I know this sounds harsh, but it's how things work, and you must understand that it won't be a cakewalk. This is why so many people start, and after a week or two, they get frustrated and abandon the platform. And that's not a bug. It's by design. However, there is some good news. First, Upwork gets exponentially easier for every person who puts in the time. While it's harder to start, the more you build your reputation, the easier everything becomes. And second, if making it on Upwork was as easy as showing up, then everyone would do it and the platform would not be as profitable for many as it is today. It takes a lot of work, and that acts as a filter. So only the best and those who want it bad enough will make it. I want to show you one post. This job was posted 27 minutes ago. This client is looking for a web UI designer in the United States, and the job already has between 20 to 50 proposals. Let's say you apply. When the client starts looking through every application, You'll be one of many that want the job. And if you do it today, you'll have every conceivable disadvantage to make it. Unless you're smart and know how to compete and kick everyone's ass. There are two hurdles you have to overcome to get a job. The first one is your profile and creating a reputation. And the second hurdle is creating a winning proposal. Some clients will ask for a phone or video interview, but many don't even care and will hire you after reading your proposal. Personally, I'm very good at interviewing. If I can get to that stage, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. But here is the trick. It doesn't matter how good you are at sweet-talking clients if you cannot get to that stage. And clients don't talk to strangers, just like mommy taught you early on. I'm not gonna waste your time talking about interviews in this course. Instead, I wanna focus on the two big hurdles to get a job. And our number one goal will be building credibility and becoming somebody. To get there, you need a solid profile. You gotta convince everyone reading you aren't a stranger. You gotta convince them you are the right fit for the job. Unfortunately, most people don't get this right. Let's go step by step and let me show you my profile so you get a better idea of what I've done. The three sections of your profile I want you to prioritize are your title, your overview, and your portfolio. Your profile has much more information, but you'll do great if you nail those three. Let's start with the title. This sentence tells the world what problem you solve on the platform. I want you to be specific and clear. Mine right now is Machine Learning Consultant, Amazon SageMaker Expert. I want you to think about yours and read it out loud. Ask yourself, if somebody hears this, will they know exactly what I do and whether I can help them? I've seen freelancers making two huge mistakes with their title. First, they claim they do too much. They use a title that's too general, thinking they will attract more people that way. In reality, the opposite happens. Let's role play for a second here. I want you to be a client for a minute. Imagine you want to solve a problem in your mobile application that works on iPhone and you see two freelancers. The title of the first person is software developer. That's it, very general. The second title is more specific, mobile developer specialized in iOS applications. For all that we know, the first freelancer, the one with the general title, might be as good or better than the second freelancer. A mobile developer is also a software developer, but you are the client. Who would you talk to first? Who do you think will be a better fit? I bet you the second freelancer will get a ton more leads related to mobile development. This person was very specific and clear about the problem they solve, and that's worth a lot. Remember, customers don't necessarily know the nuances of different tech stacks or libraries or how we classify specific skills. They'll talk to people who use a familiar language. So keep this in mind when you write your title. How are customers going to find you? More is not better. Be specific and clear. The second mistake is using too many technical terms as part of your title or packing it with keywords. You don't want it to become confusing. You want everyone to understand right away what you do. Here is one example of such a title: WordPress developer, HTML, databases, SQL, JavaScript, CSS expert. Sorry, what? First of all, Who are you talking to? Do you want to attract clients with problems you know how to solve? Or are you speaking to those who understand the technical terms you're using? This mistake is extremely common. Let's say you're a developer looking for a regular job at a company. When you write a resume, who are you talking to? Most likely, you're talking to an engineer manager or a technical recruiter. These people are looking for developers that know specific technologies, so it makes sense to speak their language in a resume. But Upwork is different. Most clients looking to build a website don't know any technical terms. They will search for freelancers that advertise themselves as website developers. They will not look for HTML, JavaScript, or CSS. So write for people you want to attract. Also, make sure you are coherent. Look at this title again. There is a lot going on there. Do not try to be too many things at the same time. A title like this looks unprofessional, and frankly, you're clearly trying to gain search results. Instead of doing this, look into specialized profiles. That's a feature where Upwork will let you create different profiles within your account to showcase different skills. For example, I started on the platform doing web and backend development, and when I wanted to find machine learning jobs, I created a new specialized profile focused exclusively on machine learning. When you send a proposal, you can decide which profile you want to use. That's 1,000 times better than trying to jam pack your title and overview with keywords and nonsense. Over the years, I've used many different titles. I change them occasionally as I switch my focus and to see what works and what doesn't. I don't think there is a perfect title. What works for me might not work for you, and it also varies between different fields. Feel free to experiment. Try new things. Write something today, read it again next week, and see how you feel about it. Remember, the key is to be specific and clear. You want everyone reading it to understand immediately whether you can help them. Give it a try. Let's talk about your profile overview now. Together with your title, the overview is probably the most important section of your profile. This is what every potential customer will read when they find you. Now, you have a lot of space here. I think it's around 5,000 characters to write your overview, but that doesn't mean you have to use it all. Sometimes less is better. Remember this. Customers don't want to and will not spend too long reading what you wrote. You only have a few seconds to introduce yourself and convince them you are a good candidate for the job. So it blows my mind to see how many freelancers go on and on talking about them and using impersonal, boilerplate language that doesn't mean anything. Let's talk about the two most common mistakes by far I see people making. First, freelancers think they have to cram everything they've done in this section. Your profile overview is not the place to write a resume. This is not where you list every accomplishment you've had in your life. The same principles we discussed before apply here. Be clear and specific. Do not add anything that's not directly relevant to the skills you are advertising. If you want to get a job as a backend developer, do not talk about front-end. Do not talk about mobile development. That's just noise. Make your profile a direct, hyper-focused companion of the title you picked. Now, the second mistake is even more common and it bothers me a lot. Most freelancers think the best use of space in their profile is to talk about them. And I get it. Your overview is to sell your skills. But you cannot forget who you are selling to. Customers care about them. So I want you to use this space and tell them what they should expect when they hire you. Talk to any salesperson and they will tell you the same thing. If you want results, you want to make the conversation about the client, not you. And that's probably the biggest improvement you can make to your profile right now. I will show you an example, but first, let me share a final thought about this. I've met a lot of people that think they are the center of the universe, especially people from newer generations. I'm not kidding. I've read profiles where people talk about their hobbies and their favorite ice cream flavor. I have news for you, and I want you to listen carefully. Nobody gives a shit about you. Nobody cares. Don't waste your time writing about your dog, the movies you like, or how much butter you put on popcorn. Customers care about solving their problems, and they don't give a damn about you or your feelings. Leave that out. Let me show you my overview. This, just like the title, I change very frequently. This one is what's working for me right now. I start with 3 sentences to establish credibility. I tell the customer how long I've been doing what I do, my specific experience, and some of the companies I've worked with. That's it. 3 lines all about me where every word matters. After that, it's all about the customer and what they can expect from me. My technical experience, communication, responsiveness, and focused on over-delivering and making the project successful. Finally, I close out by listing a few specific frameworks and platforms that represent the core of my experience. Keep in mind, I've been building software for over 20 years, so naturally I've used dozens of technologies that I could mention here, but I don't. This is not the place. Nobody cares about the code I wrote in Java or C++ 10 years ago unless it's directly relevant to the skills I'm trying to sell here. Every word matters. Customers do not have time to read everything you write, so either you convince them in a few seconds or you lose them to the next freelancer that does it. Here's what I want you to do. Find other freelancers offering similar services as you. Look for the top-rated and top-rated plus badges to ensure they're doing a good job. Read their profiles. Take ideas from them. You don't have to copy them, but spend 1 hour looking at different profiles. Read them, get a feeling for what works and what doesn't. That'll give you a solid foundation to come up with your own. I have here a list of crap people write in their profiles that I want you to avoid. Listen carefully. I'm a hard worker. When was the last time you heard somebody who applied for a job saying, I don't work a lot? It doesn't happen. Don't write that. I'm a team player. Really? Genius? I work well under pressure. Sure you do, Buttercup. I'm a go-getter, a strategic thinker. I'm proactive. I think outside of the box. I'm smart. These are all empty self-promotion phrases that won't help you. Remember, you have a few seconds to tell customers who you are and what to expect from working with you. Don't waste your time with empty language. Okay, the final stop in your profile that I want to discuss is your portfolio. This is the place where you can showcase examples of the work you've done. This should be a no-brainer if you're a designer or a front-end developer. Use this to display some of your better-looking sites or designs. But for anyone who, like me, works on non-visual things, use this space to showcase stories about your work. I have 3 examples in my portfolio. One is a collection of certificates that are directly relevant to my profile. The other 2 are projects I built and a quick description of what I did and the results I got. My goal is to strengthen the credibility I started building with my title and overview. I want to show some of the impact of my work. The portfolio is the place for that. Now, you don't need a dozen projects here. Nobody will go and read everything on this list. You only need a few, so pick the ones most relevant to the work you want to sell. What doesn't make sense, however, is to miss this opportunity. I've been hiring people for the last 10 years, I think, and always the first most relevant portion of their application is the work they have done. I barely care about anything else. You can talk all you want, but the work and details of what you did are hard to fake. Take advantage of this. Many people have trouble thinking about what they should add to their Upwork profile. There are usually three groups. First, those who say they do have experience, but they can talk about it because their companies don't allow it. They signed some sort of non-disclosure agreement. Listen, you're smarter than that. Maybe leave the name of the company out or some of the specific details, but find a way to talk about what you've built. I've had these conversations so many times, and it usually takes a few minutes to come up with a way to showcase your value without violating an NDA. The only people I've found unable to say anything about their work are those who don't have anything to say in the first place. The second group is people who haven't had a job before and often wonder how to showcase their experience. Unfortunately, for years, we've gotten used to a very specific format to share our value. You name a company, your title, the years you worked there, and what you did. And then you do the same for the next company, all the way to the beginning of your career. Well, this format is bullshit and nobody really cares, especially in Upwork. You don't need to name drop companies to tell your story. Talk about your projects regardless of who you build them for. Talk about what you built while learning in a hackathon, as part of a community project. Experience and employment are separate concepts, especially in a place like Upwork. Finally, there is a third group. These are people who are learning. Maybe they read a book or took a course and they want to find a job. I'll be honest, if you have nothing to add to your portfolio, you have no business looking for a job in Upwork. It's just too early for you. My recommendation, go back and start building things that you can talk about. Get some experience first by doing the things you want to sell. Then come back. We'll be here for you. So trying to move this coffee table takes a lot of force, but as soon as I get it going, it's much easier. That inertia is something you'll have to fight in Upwork. At the start, it will take time for your account to become credible, but as soon as you start closing jobs and building a reputation, everything will become easier. The question is, however, how do you get there? How can you close your first job when you have nothing? Let me show you how. Here is a strategy that everyone ignores, which means it works every time. I'm serious. I promise you can do this over and over again and get results every time. When I started, I did not apply for hourly big cushy jobs because they are harder to get. Every person and their mama want a long-term contract. They come to Upwork looking for good paying gigs. So of course, any decent job will have hundreds of proposals. I want you to stay away from them. Instead, look for cheap, fixed fee jobs that most people ignore. The one-offs, the $50 projects. Go to the platform right now and filter by fixed price projects under $100. Look at how many proposals they have. Most of the time, they will only have a handful, if any. That's a huge opportunity, not to become rich, but to start collecting a few reviews very quickly. While everyone is fighting over huge contracts, you will be boosting your profile. I've done this many times. As you grow in the platform, you probably won't need this as much because it will become easier to get a job. But prior, I took all sort of gigs. Let me show you 3 examples from 2020 when I returned to Upwork after a long time away. First, I translated documents from English to Spanish. $100, but all I care about was a 5-star review. I was looking for technical work. I'm not a translator, but I found an opportunity to get a review and I took it. Second, this was a phone call where I helped the customer compile a Python script. It was quick. I think the call lasted about 20 minutes, but the client agreed to pay me $100. Honestly, the money didn't matter, but I got my review. And finally, this was an interesting job and the title is misleading. This was about configuring a couple of tools. I didn't have to write any code. It was a very small gig I finished in minutes. The client was very happy and gave me a $10 bonus and a nice review. Would I take these jobs right now? I don't know. Probably I wouldn't because I have enough capital to go after big jobs now. But if I was starting again, this is exactly what I'll do. Here is a cheat code to help you find good gigs. From time to time, you'll stumble upon jobs that, on the surface, look ridiculous. This will be jobs that ask for too much, but they have a very low budget. I have seen customers looking to build entire systems and the job has a budget of $100. I wanted to find one example for you, so I went to Upwork and searched for machine learning jobs. I filtered the list by fixed price jobs with a budget of $100 or less. Look at this one here for $35. This job wants us to complete a pretty extensive data analysis, which is worth much more than $35. 99% of people will look at a job like that and ignore it. Some people go as far as making fun of these companies online. I'm sure you've seen the screenshots with ridiculous job descriptions and self-righteous comments from the masses. Well, have you considered the possibility that these companies may not want to take advantage of you? Maybe, just maybe, these companies have no idea what they need or how much solving their problems will cost. Here is my advice. Let everyone else run away and laugh. I want you to send a proposal. When you submit a proposal, you can specify how much money you want. You are not obligated to accept the original terms. You can help the client understand the complexity of the work and submit an offer. Remember, many clients write a number, any number, because Upwork forces them to specify a budget. They expect freelancers to send a proposal and negotiate. But midwits on the platform think they know better, make fun of the jobs or ignore them, and that's a great opportunity for you. You'll find that most clients are honest and don't want to take advantage of you. They just don't know better. I've closed several jobs doing this while everyone else had their butts on their high horses. When everyone goes that way, there is always a huge opportunity for those who think differently and run this way. I want to show you something here on the computer. Before applying for a job, you want to ensure the client is worth it and you can trust it. As a platform, Upwork is great and they do a good job vetting clients, but you still need to do your due diligence. Let me find some open jobs here and go into one of them. There is a section called About the Client where you can learn who these people are. First, make sure their payment method is verified. If it isn't, move on, find another job. That's the most basic step a client can take to look legitimate. And I wouldn't trust them if they had not done it. Second, look at the reviews. If you scroll down, you can read what other freelancers said about this client. Make sure there are no red flags here. Finally, you can get a sense of how much work this client has done on the platform and how much they pay on average. This will give you an idea if they are a good fit for you. Now, obviously, there's always a first time for every client. You might find a brand new customer with no history, and that's okay. But make sure you do your due diligence. Do not spend your time otherwise. All right, time to talk about my favorite topic, and definitely the idea that will get you ahead of anybody else doing Upwork. This is by far the most important lesson I have to teach you. Let's talk about proposals. But before we get into it, I want you to understand why most people do this wrong. First, open a browser tab and Google Upwork Connects. Spend some time understanding how this works. This is a system that Upwork implemented where freelancers have to pay to apply for jobs. Go to any open job on the platform and you'll see how many connects it will cost you if you decide to send a proposal. Upwork will give you a few free connects every month and you can buy more for 15 cents each. Many people think Upwork is doing this to make more money, but I don't think that's the reason. They want to reduce spam. Guess what? Many freelancers think that more is better, so their strategy is to apply to as many jobs as possible and hope for someone to hire them. Before the Connect system, customers had to deal with hundreds of spam proposals from people who didn't even read the job description. It was horrible, and making freelancers pay a small amount helps. The reason I mention this is because it illustrates a massive issue with the way most people think. We're lazy. We are designed to do the minimum possible that may get us the results we want. And if you understand that and act differently, you'll have a huge advantage. I don't know if you're on social media, but from time to time, I see people complaining because they have applied to 100 different companies and nobody has called them back. 100 different companies. How can you do that? It takes me hours to apply for one single job. How come you can do it 100 times? Unless maybe you are not applying to 100 companies. You are spamming 100 companies with the same boilerplate garbage application. That's very different and something that holds most people back. Here's the deal. If your proposal sucks, you won't get a job. If you submit a generic proposal, somebody like me will win the job and you won't. I don't spam open opportunities. I carefully select them, take my time, and win them. Whenever I apply for a job, if the customer reads my proposal, I'm going to get an interview. And that is my superpower. And that's what I want you to start doing today. I'm going downstairs and I'm getting back in 1 second. All right. Let's talk about what a good proposal looks like, starting with the obvious. To succeed in Upwork, stop thinking about quantity and focus on quality. I'd much rather have you send one winning proposal every day than 100 generic garbage proposals that won't get you anything. Personally, I've spent hours writing one proposal, and the reason is simple. I'm packing as much value as I can in my proposals. I want clients to look at them and say, "Holy shit, give him a call." Here is my strategy. I read a job description and immediately ask myself one question. If I get hired today, what would I do to start working on this? And the answer to this question is my proposal. My first day on the job, that's my proposal. Let me show you one example. This is a full proposal I sent one client. I blacked out any identifying information in the document. That's the reason for the black bars. Notice how much detail is in this proposal. I started here with a list of every feature I'll work on during the first 4 weeks and the cost. And then I provided a ballpark estimate for the rest of the functionality that the customer wanted. This is exactly the type of proposal that will get you an interview. I spent hours creating this, thinking about every detail and offering the customer as much relevant information as needed. The things I wrote on this proposal are the things I would do if I got hired. Except, why wait? My first day on the job is my proposal. Let me show you a second example. This one is different. I listed a short list of requirements, but I wrote a long list of assumptions because I didn't have enough information. The proposal ends with a timeline and a cost estimate. Same principle here. I took the job description, broke it down, and wrote a proposal to win the job. I gave away my first day on the job. Final example I want to show you. Sometimes a proposal is not about a list of features. Sometimes you can deliver your point with a diagram. This is the proposed AWS architecture I sent a client to build their system. Do you know how many freelancers bother to put in the time to write something like this? If you do this, I promise it will be hard for a customer to ignore you. You will be one of the only people on the platform going the extra mile. Most freelancers will tell you they don't give away anything unless they get paid, and yet most of them don't make any money. Think about it. But in the meantime, let me show you something else. Sometimes the job description will not give you enough information to send a detailed proposal. Don't let that stop you. What would you do if you got hired and didn't know exactly how to start working? You would ask questions. This is the cover letter I sent to a job. Notice it's short, but I'm asking the customer relevant questions about their project. I wasted zero time talking about it. This is all about them and their job. Now, it doesn't matter what the job is, there is always a way to go the extra mile. I could be writing a great proposal, sending an architecture diagram, or asking many relevant questions. The secret is to give away as much value as you can. This will make you stand apart from everyone else. It will show you know what you're doing. And more importantly, it will show you care. I've used Upwork before to find other freelancers and hire them to complete a project. Every proposal I've ever received is either blank, with the freelancer asking me, "Please hire me, sir," or completely irrelevant, with the freelancer sending me the resume. The bar for anyone who cares is really, really low. The best proposals on the platform are my superpower. And now you know. Now it's up to you. There is a trade-off here. If you want to write a good proposal, there is absolutely no way you can apply to more than one, maybe two jobs every day. Writing good proposals take time. So you have to make a decision here. Would you rather spend your time writing 20 mediocre proposals or just an impressive one? You already know the choice I made. Let me give you a final tip that will go a long way in getting you an interview. When you write a cover letter, I want you to make it extremely clear to the customer what are the next steps. It should be simple for them to understand what should happen next. Look at the example cover letter I showed you before. Read the sentence before the last. I asked the client to jump on a phone call. I'm assertive. I'm acting as if I got the job. I'm not begging them for an interview. I'm telling them I'm ready to start talking business. Here is another example. Different client, same technique. And here is another one. Again, I'm making it clear I want to start working right away. This confidence makes a difference. Don't waste your time asking or waiting for permission. Be clear and direct. So the first day I announced online I was recording this course, a bunch of people replied with their personal stories. Many said something along the lines of, Upwork is awful. I spent a week applying for jobs and couldn't get any. And I was like, of course you didn't, Buttercup. If it were that simple, everyone would do it. Upwork takes time. No matter how good you are or how much you think you deserve it. You either put in the work or look elsewhere. But here is the good news. It gets better with time and experience. As you build your reputation on the platform, things will become much easier. For example, I haven't had to search for a job in a long time because companies invite me to submit a proposal. Sitting at home, I get emails asking me to apply for their jobs. They want me, and that's a huge advantage. It's much easier to land a job when the client handpicks you. Upwork creates a positive spiral effect where the better you do, the easier it becomes to make more money. And if I did it, you can do it too. Good luck.